All right, today for science, we're going to talk more about the moon and its phases. Does anyone remember what a phase means? To a depth. Yeah. To a depth. Hey, John, what's a phase mean? No? Shelby, what do you think?
Phase is like how it changes. Like, how the phases, there's like, how the way you get to
Most definitely. Does anyone remember different moon phase names besides the waxing and waning? Those are a little too in depth. Mary, what do you think? New moon? Dida?
Give it.
A little too far in depth, but yes, that's one. Bella? Crescent. Good. Gabe? Full moon. Good. Okay. And there's a quarter moon and a half moon as well. Okay? So I'm going to read this book to you guys. It talks a little bit about the moon and its phases. Nope. Okay. It's called The Moon Book. As the sun sets at the end of each day, the sky becomes darker and darker. On many clear nights, our moon shines brightly in the night sky. Our moon is the brightest and biggest light in our night sky. It outshines all the stars and planets, which appear as small points of light. Some planets have many moons. The Earth has one. Our moon looks big and bright because it is so close to the Earth compared to the faraway stars and planets. It's about 238,900 miles away. It's like just a walk in the park, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The moon makes no light of its own to shine. It is bright in the night sky because it reflects the sun's light. It is about 1/4 the size of Earth. It's made up of rock and dust, and there is no air or sign of life. The moon is Earth's only natural satellite. It takes about 1 month for the moon to travel around the Earth. How many days is about 1 month approximately? Clayton? About 28 days, yes. The moon makes one complete rotation for each complete trip around the Earth. Thus, the same side of the moon is always facing the Earth. The moon appears to change shape, but it doesn't. The different shapes we see are called phases of the moon. We are seeing different amounts of light being reflected on the moon. How much light we see depends on the positions of the Earth, moon, and the sun. Okay, so we have the new moon, which is during a new moon, the moon is almost directly between the sun and the Earth. The moon looks dark, we see no reflected light, so we don't see anything in the night sky. The crescent moon, in a few days, a bit of the sunlit side of the moon shows. It forms a crescent. And whenever I was in 3rd grade, my teacher always compared it to like your nail, like the white part in your nail. Kind of looks like a crescent. Okay. First quarter moon is when the moon is a quarter of its way around the Earth. It is in its first quarter phase. We see it as half lit. This is sometimes called the half moon. There's the full moon. What does the full moon look like? You can see the whole thing. Yes. Last quarter moon, when the moon is 3/4 of its way around the Earth, it is in last quarter phase. Again, we see it as half lit. It is sometimes called the half moon. And then the crescent moon, once again, we see a small sliver, which looks like your fingernail, of the moon shining in the sky. And then new moon, can't see anything. And then a solar eclipse. The moon's orbit around the Earth is usually tilted slightly compared to the Earth's orbit around the sun. Because of this, the moon cannot exactly line up between the sun and the Earth. But when the moon's orbit is not tilted and the moon lines up exactly between the sun and the Earth, the solar eclipse happens. And then a lunar eclipse, when the sun, Earth, and moon are exactly lined up, a lunar eclipse happens. As in solar eclipse, the moon's orbit is not tilted. Earth blocks off the sunlight that usually lights up the moon. The moon has a reddish glow. Has anyone seen a lunar eclipse? It's pretty crazy. Lunar comes from the word luna. In Latin, it means moon. So the lunar eclipse can last up to 3.5 hours. Not very long, is it? The moon affects the oceans too. The moon's pull, called gravity, on the oceans is strong enough to cause tides. Tides are the daily rising and falling of the ocean's waters. This is because the moon takes about 25 hours to come back to the same place in the sky it was the night before. That's something like, what else is 25-ish hours? Nate? Oh, yeah, it's about 24 hours of a full day, but it takes the moon about 25 hours to get back to its place before. Okay. The tide differences around the world. So why would the tide be different around the world? Why would it not be the same? Mary? Yeah, most definitely. So it's going to affect different places of the earth at different times. Okay, and some fun facts I found on here. The moon travels in its orbit about 2,200 miles per hour. Sounds really fast, but are we affected by it really at all? No, we're not like buckled up, ready to go. And then do you guys remember when that astronomer came that Miss Haynes invited? She talked about a blue moon. What was a blue moon? Does anyone remember? Mary, what do you think? Yes, 2 full moons in 1 month. It's just kind of like a rare occasion, is why they call it a blue moon. Yeah. No, yeah, it's not actually a blue moon. Okay? And on many clear days, we can see the moon in our daylight sky. Why? How is that possible, Kaden?
Because it can still get a little bit of sun reflection for us to see.
Perfect. Yep, that's exactly right. And also the sun's reflecting off the moon, so you can still see the sun during the moon during the day. But also the moon isn't quite all the way around yet to where you can't see it anymore. So the sun and the moon are still in kind of direct.
Is that if you got the moon, but I was watching this video and like not that long ago Jupiter was as close as it can be.
Yeah.
Right, isn't that crazy? Yeah. If you guys ever get a telescope, I think they're the coolest things ever. You can look in outer space and actually see those. It's just the magnifying glasses and the telescope is the coolest thing.
Also, you could see like the full moon around it.
Yeah, it's really cool. Kaden.
At night, not all the stars that you see, that some of them look like stars, but you know how like Jupiter is a gas planet? It's actually, some of the stars are actually gas planets.
Very interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do, Isaac here, we're going to fill out this moon phase worksheet. Okay, so we have the sun in its place, we have the earth in the middle, and it's already labeled. We just have to color in the part of the moon that's going to be away from Earth, or not visible from Earth. We're going to work on it together. Okay? And so whenever you get one, you can use a pencil, or I'd be okay with a marker as well. So when you get one, just pass it back and go to your seat. Your name is on that. Echo. All right. No, I don't.
Yes, we have.
Somebody, you just don't want to watch it.
It's not what it looks like. To Tim and Moby, I've heard the moon waxes and wanes. What does that mean? From Devin. Hey Devin, here on Earth, the moon doesn't always look like a perfect circle in the sky. Its appearance changes over time. It waxes or grows and wanes or shrinks. The moon goes through a cycle of different shapes or phases over the course of about 1 month. In fact, the whole concept of months is based on this cycle. Believe it or not, shadows have nothing to do with the moon's phases. You might be picturing the Earth-Moon-Sun system like this. But if everything were all flat like this, you'd get a solar eclipse every time the moon was here, and a lunar eclipse every time it was here. In reality, eclipses are pretty rare. Okay, let's see how it really...
So, question, let me go back. Whenever he said the... Where'd it go?
Concept of months is
Yeah.
based on this
There was
cycle.
like a lunar and a solar.
Believe it or not, shadows have nothing to do with the moon's phases. You might be picturing the Earth-Moon-Sun system like this. But if everything were all flat like this, you'd get a solar eclipse every time the moon was here.
What is that called? Shelby? What is that called? The one we just did the phases. What picture is that on ours? What? New moon. Yep. So then,
And a lunar eclipse every time it was here.
what is that one? Like, full moon. There you go.
In reality, eclipses are pretty rare. Okay, let's see how it really looks. The moon's orbit around the Earth is tilted about 5 degrees from our orbit around the sun. So, in most cases, any shadows cast by the Earth and moon completely miss each other. Now that we've cleared that up, let's see the phases in action. Like the Earth, half the moon's surface is always lit by the sun, and half is in the dark. But the amount of that bright side that we can see changes as the moon moves through its orbit. When the moon is directly between the Earth and sun, forming a straight line, the entire bright side is facing away from us, so we see nothing at all, or at best a dark disk. This phase is called the new moon. Right, as you move along in your orbit, more and more of your bright side becomes visible to me. In other words, the moon is waxing. Phases where you can see less than half of the bright side are called crescent moons. When the moon has completed 1/4 of its orbit around Earth, we can see half of its illuminated side. Astronomers call this the first quarter moon, but it's more commonly known as a half moon. Once you can see more than half, it's called a gibbous moon. When the moon and the sun are on opposite sides of the Earth, the entire bright side of the moon is facing toward us, so we see a shiny full moon. Beautiful, isn't it? Now, as the moon continues its orbit, we see less and less of its lit side. It passes through the waning gibbous phases. And when it completes 3/4 of its orbit, the other half of the bright side becomes visible as the third quarter moon. Next, it passes through the waning crescent phases. And finally, the moon comes back around to where it started, and we're back to a new moon. The amount of time between one new moon and the next is called a lunar month, and it's about 29.5 days. But the time it takes for the moon to make one complete orbit around Earth is actually a bit less, about 27.3 days. Well, remember, while the moon travels around the Earth is moving around the sun. So when the moon finishes one complete circuit, the Earth has moved quite a bit. The three bodies now form an angle instead of a straight line, so we can still see a crescent moon. It takes the moon about 2 days to catch up and get into new moon position again. Okay, now we can finally put these costumes away. Oh no. That's no moon. Ah!
Okay. So, we're going to take the quiz. So, don't let me go ahead and take a whole bunch and pass them down. I have my own.
Can you do grade it?